The Florida Panthers have a new head coach, and it's Paul Maurice. Armando Velez of Locked On Panthers is here to talk about the new hire, what it means, and what direction the Florida Panthers are going in as a result. All that and more coming up on the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On NHL podcast. Gil Martin, glad to be with you on this Monday. Thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. My pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Florida Panthers, Armando Velez. Armando, great to have you back.
It's great to be back, Gil. Most of the season, we've been talking about good things that have been going on with the Florida Panthers. The most recent appearance on the show was talking about not so great things going on with the Florida Panthers, as at the time they were one game away from being swept by the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I guess this appearance is neither good or bad. It just is when it comes to the fact that the Florida Panthers hired a head coach in Paul Maurice.
Now, let's start with this. Were you surprised that they decided to not keep the interim head coach who, got them to a President's Trophy?
At first, my initial prediction was that Andrew Brunette was going to get a chance with the Florida Panthers. And I was also in the agreement that the Florida Panthers midseason should not take the interim tag off Andrew Brunette, because as a franchise, when Bill Zito has not chosen his GM as of yet, because when he came in, Coach Quenneville was still the coach in place. He was a Dale Talon hire, but he also gives himself an opportunity to choose the guy that he wants to choose, regardless of the result that was going on at the time. And of course, Andrew Brunette did a great job under a very difficult circumstances. The Florida Panthers at the time were 7-0 to start the season, and he was able to get 51 wins. But with my initial prediction being that he would be the coach of the Florida Panthers going forward, it was starting to creep a little bit of doubt that he would be as days went on. And it took them exactly 30 days from the time that they were eliminated to the time that they made the news official of Paul Maurice being the guy. And I had an episode the day before the hiring was announced that I was starting to warm up to the idea of Paul Maurice being the coach, because there was no connections with Barry Trotz to Florida. Every single national writer did not connect Trotz to Florida. So if there was going to be any other experienced coach out there that would take this job and that would probably be qualified for this job, it would have been Paul Maurice this whole time.
As far as Burnett is concerned, what do you think it would have taken? One more playoff round win, two more playoff round wins, or was it just, I want to bring in my own guy?
I think neither of those. I think it's if you didn't get swept by the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think that the adjustments for Andrew Brunette when it came to round one against the Washington Capitals, I mean, it happened all the way until game 4 when they were down 2-1, and it was drastic line changes for Andrew Brunette. Of course, it worked, but it was still waiting a little bit too long to create the changes that he needed. And of course, more adjustments were necessary in the very next series. And a lot of the Florida Panthers did not look good even in their round 1 series win against Washington. So, and the tires just fell flat in round 2. The wheels broke off, even though they had a chance to send this game to overtime in game 2 of the series. Just that last minute goal by the Tampa Bay Lightning was just very deflating for the Panthers. And it just, I just think that whenever the window is what it is for the Panthers, Bill Zito doesn't think this is an opportunity to experiment with a new coach, because this is a team that's in position that, even though they have some cap issues right now for their team, and they have to make some moves in order to bring to either re-sign X player, that they don't want to mess this opportunity up, the fact that they have this window, because as of we're recording this, the Colorado Avalanche just won the Stanley Cup, and you talk about Tampa Bay Lightning losing the President's Trophy and then winning, winning the President's Trophy and then losing after in the first round, and then Colorado Avalanche the last few years winning the President's Trophy and not getting out of the second round. So this is an opportunity for Bill Zito for this core of team for the Panthers to go for it now, and with a guy with experience in Paul Maurice, it seems like that he feels comfortable with that.
Stylistically, what do you like about this hire, and what changes do you think he'll bring to the Panthers on the ice?
Well, during his time in Winnipeg, I was looking at all the full seasons that he had from 2015 all the way to the time that he resigned in 2021, and it was mostly an offensive heavy team that he had throughout that span. Of course, the year that Connor Hellebuck won the Vezina Trophy, that's when actually the offense started to dip with the Winnipeg Jets, and of course with the length that he was there, and along with his 2 stints in Carolina, of course he was able to bring some accountability towards the end of his tenure in Winnipeg, saying that they needed a new voice. And it seems that nobody coaches an extended period of time on any team, regardless of the amount of times that he's missed the playoffs as well. Nobody gets that amount of time with the team if they can't relate well to players. And that's what the Florida Panthers are looking for. And that's what they're looking for, a guy to relate to the players who's ready to bring the best out of them. And there's a very popular video of Kevin Weeks when he was talking about Paul Maurice telling him when he was going to get in the game. So he's very good at pumping up his players. And there's a lot of criticism when it comes to the hire. I've heard all of it. And I compare it to where, you know all about Barry Trotz, and before he won the Stanley Cup with the Washington Capitals, he never got out of the second round. So that's an example of this guy just needs a new chance in a new situation. This is one of the best teams that he's going to have an opportunity to coach. He did have a great Winnipeg Jets team in 2018 that got them to the conference finals. Of course, some coaching decisions that were big alarms, benching Andrew Kopp as one of them in Game 7 against the Vegas Golden Knights. So, but that's also an opportunity for him to learn from his mistakes of the past and to see what he could bring to Florida.
What is the most important thing now that this team, now you got the coaching situation settled, what does this team need to do most this offseason?
I think the answer is try to re-sign Claude Giroux. That's priority number one. If I am Bill Zito right now, because the last 2 years since he's made his trades, and I'll just give a few examples. Sam Bennett, he was able to re-sign. Brandon Montour for a 3rd round pick, he was able to re-sign. Sam Reinhart traded his RFA rights, got him to re-sign. Well, here's the issue with the Panthers. They only have just about $3 million in cap space right now going into this upcoming season. The majority of Keith Yandle's buyout is going to be on the books this coming season, about $5.4 million. And then the rest of that will go way down. Jonathan Huberdeau is up for an extension, but the cap hit on that extension won't hit until the next offseason. So they got to work on trying to get that. Barkov's new contract comes into play this upcoming season, $10 million cap hit. Carver Hagee as well, his new contract comes into play now, but they signed him at a pretty good value deal the previous offseason. So that's already taken care of. But there is a guy on the 4th line who's not producing at the rate that he was when he was winning Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins in Patrick Hornquist. Sure, he's on power play too. Sure, he's a leader on the team, but that's a cap hit that the Florida Panthers right now just cannot afford, a guy who's only going to play about 12 minutes a night. So that's a contract that they have to try to move. But there are some clauses in that contract for the Panthers. There also have been rumors about trying to trade Sergei Bobrovsky and keeping 50% of the cap hit, but he does have a full no movement clause, so that is going to be an even harder contract for the Florida Panthers to trade. And the combined cap for the Panthers goalie tandem is just under 11, and Spencer Knight will be an RFA next offseason. So they got to figure out, they're going to pay Spencer Knight. However, if you are unable to trade Sergei Bobrovsky and keep 50% of that cap, how is when it's time to pay Spencer Knight, how's that going to work? So that's why they're trying to make that happen, but it's going to be a little harder to make it work.
A lot of challenges ahead. Armando, I'm sure you'll keep everyone up to date throughout the offseason. Why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find you on social media and where they could find the podcast?
They can follow me on Twitter personally at MondoMan12. They'll see all of tweets in relation to the Panthers. And because it's the summer, they'll be seeing more Marlins tweets this summer, that's for sure. And of course, Dolphins coming up in the fall for football season. But definitely some Panthers in relation to news, trades, everything. And of course, Locked On Panthers, anywhere you listen to podcasts at LO_FLA Panthers.
All right. Armando, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us today.
As always, Gil, thank you so much.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including the Stanley Cup Finals and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.